webinar. This is a very special webinar because it is a webinar that the first that I'm actually having two guests that I actually met during my grassroots activists time. And they were right out there with me. So this third Black Wealth Tour, sponsored by the Registrar of Wills Office, is going to be a special one. And you all are not only going to take a lot of information, you all are going to just appreciate to see two young African-American women, Black American women, did everything we could do, grassroots for our community, and somehow manage to win some pivotal elections. And I was just so proud when State Representative Young won her election for state representative over here in Southwest Philadelphia. And my little sis, Darisha Miller, who, I have so much honor for her family. Her father was a giant. As a matter of fact, he used to be the chief of staff right here in the Registrar of Wills office. And her mother, AKAs, let me just acknowledge Miss Linda. And I don't want to get it wrong, And
she's a Delta now. Don't get in trouble.
Yeah. This family has always been so gracious to me. They have always did grassroots politics, just everything. There was just a class act, and now their daughter is, following the footsteps of former state representative Regina Young whom she worked for, right before the transition. And I'm just so happy to have my city solicitor, or my solicitor, which is my attorney here at the Registrar of Wills, Sharon Wilson, who's my partner in crime. I'm Tracey Gordon. This is coming on to my first year anniversary in a couple weeks of my first year in office as the Registrar of Wills and clerk of Forfeits Court. And I just want to say that I am so happy to let you all know that the Registrar of Wills office is open. We're essential. We have top quality staff. We answer phones, answer all emails. We are on all social media sites. We hold these webinars every Thursday night from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, 1 hour. We got a nice seminar coming up next week. I'm going to bring the resources to you so you'll know exactly how to save your home, to preserve your generational wealth. That's what I do. I am the administrator. I preside over the protection of your generational wealth. When somebody dies in your family, they leave a will or they don't leave a will, and you have to take care of the business because you need to transfer those assets to you because you believe you are the rightful heir, you have to come to me and come to my office and do a process of what is called probate. And you have to come, and then we take you through that process so you can be able to get your generational wealth and conduct the business of your family. And so those are one of the things that I do here in the city, and one of the things that I'm bringing these webinars to you all so you can learn the rules. There are rules and laws around home ownership. There are rules and laws around being able to say that that's my mom's property. She wanted to leave it to me. Here's the proof. You have to come to bring the proof to me. There are rules that we have not been able here in the city of Philadelphia to make sure you all know about these rules. And as a consequence, we are losing millions and millions and millions of real estate. Within the next 25 years, $68 trillion worth of wealth will transfer from my generation, which are the baby boomers, and possibly yours, or to the millennials. And the thing is, we are not prepared to transfer our wealth. We are sitting in entangled titles. We are losing properties at the sheriff's cells. We are doing all the things that causing us to lose wealth and be homeless. And so our offices, which you all elected us for, is to make sure that we help you help yourself. So the Registrar of Wills office, like the state representative office, is a state office. We're not a city. We are a state office. We are under the first judicial district, and we have to follow the laws of the Constitution of Pennsylvania. There are 67 counties. Philadelphia is a first class county. We send between 80 to $100 million to Harrisburg and estate taxes every year. As a matter of fact, I can proudly announce that we are the only county that is current with the processing of estate payments that goes directly to Harrisburg. We are current. We are the only county that's current.
Good.
We also were the only county in the country that was still marrying people during the beginning of the pandemic when it was completely shut down, cold blue. We did virtual marriages because of a state constitution law called Quaker marriages, which means that you don't have to have someone officiate over your marriage. It's self-sustaining. You and him can marry in the eyes of God. And we did that virtually. We were the first to do it on the East Coast. We've been open for business, but appointment only. So without further ado, I just want to start that. I want to let everybody know this is the third installment of our Black Wealth Tour. And so our first panelist, our guest, the distinguished Honorable State Representative Regina Young. State Representative Regina Young was elected to represent the 185th Legislative District in November 2020. She is a community organizer, former educator, social service worker, and a certified HIV and grief counselor. Before running for office, she was a community schools coordinator in the Philadelphia Mayor's Office of Communication, right here in Southwest Philadelphia. She turned all the schools around for the better. She founded and served as executive director of Empowerment Community Development Corporation, one of the most powerful CDCs in Southwest Philly. She has been on the ground. She founded that CDC, and she's running it. I'm a part, and I'm still a part of the Empowerment CDC. This organization helped establish community programs identified as needed by community members. She was also a social service worker for the Women Christians Alliance. She's on the board of the Browning Scholarship Foundation, and she's also an advisory committee member for Turning Points and member of so am I Police District Advisory Committee, 12th District. Reason why I'm reading all this is because she has been volunteering almost every day of her life for the service of the constituents of Southwest Philly and beyond the city. I met her on the ground. Me and her, we always, I'm the bad guy, she's the good guy. It is what it is. I'll be honest. Regina has always been, she laid back, but when she talks, everybody listens. I'm so proud of you, a state representative, and I'll get to the questions. I just want to introduce our special, another special, honorable state representative, Darisha Parker. And I had to practice it because I always say Darisha Miller. But yes, wonderful, beautiful wedding and honeymoon. And I'm so happy for you. I love Black love. I'm hopelessly romantic. Did you see the mural that we put up in City Hall? Yeah, well, you can come and take a picture. Just take a picture for your anniversaries. But Darisha K. Miller was elected to serve her first term in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives in November 2020. As a native of Northwest Philly, she understands the issues that matter most to people and families in the 198th Legislative District, and she'll tell you those areas. As an active member of her local town watch, she has spearheaded her own grassroots initiative to protect her community from violence and help victims of these senseless acts, including a life-saving effort that has led to secure return of an abducted woman from Germantown. Working as a legislative assistant for her dedicated predecessor, the Honorable Rosita C. Youngblood. Darisha has partnered with community advocates and residents to stop gun violence, reduce the poverty rate, and fight to make clean air and water accessible to everyone. Her other priorities include enacting criminal justice reform and giving a voice to seniors. That's what Darisha has always, I've always known her. Every initiative that Darisha has is always inclusive of seniors. We got to protect our seniors. And Darisha has been on the ground with that. And I am so honored to bring you all on here. But my solicitor, Sharon, is going to give a short presentation. So we'll be able to help people understand that we're going to target, send you, guide you to where you can get the resources. And so they can distinguish between state and city. So, Sharon Wilson, let's just get it started off.
Sure. Just some brief remarks. Welcome, everyone, our panelists and the audience, to our third installment of Black History Month's Black Wealth Tour. Listen, what the Register really wants you to do is to start your journey, if you haven't started already, start your journey toward generational wealth or help you preserve what you already have. Now, when you're trying to do that, sometimes you need a little help, especially when you're trying to work inside of a system that really isn't geared to help you get ahead, right? So hopefully you used your vote at the last election and you voted not only for a city representative, but you also voted for a state representative. And it's very important that we understand the distinction. You know, as constituents, when we have a problem, we just say, I need my representative. You don't pay attention, city, state, and you're right. The panelists are laughing at us because they know that's what you do. But you need to understand the distinction because what you need to do is one, you need to know what the boundaries are of your city representative, what the boundaries are of your state representative, and understand that there is opportunity there so that when the city no longer has any more resources, maybe your state does. So that doesn't have to be your last no. When your state doesn't have any more resources, maybe your city does. Your mayor just announced that we're going to have a $450 million shortfall next year. Okay. So whatever you are looking for your city to provide to you may not be available. And the state may be the place where you end up trying to fill in the gaps for those resources that you need. So today, as we talk about, okay, I'm trying to preserve my generational wealth, what do I need to do? The panelists are going to define for you what their boundaries are. They're going to lead you toward the resources that are available. If you have a pen and a pencil, write it down. I know that they put their contact information in the chat box. So let's get ready to hear some good information.
So, Regina, what role should our elected official here in the city play with educating people about generational wealth and what are some of the things you're doing or your experience and what you see that people need to understand better?
Thank you again for this opportunity. I will say that this is a well-needed platform. I think this office in particular was underutilized for so long. It's refreshing to hear voices and advocacy come out of your office. So thank you. But to answer your question, it's easy for me to say, if you want to know about state resources, you can always go to www.pa.gov. That is the official answer. There's a lot of resources there that will let you know what are the responsibilities and the type of programs that exist on the state level. However, Sharon, I'm going to go a little deeper in just saying that we can never forget our federal partners. So, Tracy, to your question, I operate in the same manner in which I did as a community advocate. It's all about bringing conversations to the table, right? Because information is power. And our goal, and thank you for remembering the times we were in the same room. The goal is to stay at that table and don't leave until you get answers. Because if you have that collective voice at that table, nobody can leave. Somebody's going to give you an answer. And I think far too often in our community, we tend to shy away from demanding what we believe we deserve. we shy away from understanding our role, our power. So we don't demand it. So my approach in this work as a state legislator is when I have conversations that can bring some type of resources to the community and the constituents, I not only invite my city level elected, I invite my state level elected, and I invite my federal level elected, those people who represent each area of my district, because, and I always have someone representing the community piece as well. And the reason why I do that is because Rep Parker and I being one month and what 12 days in, I guess, in this
Yeah.
role officially, there's a lot we're learning, and I am not.
Yes.
I didn't do it before becoming elected, and I'm not going to start now. And that is making up stuff just to give people a quick answer. I don't have all the answers, but like you, I operate on a team level because somebody in that room, somebody in that circle should be able to provide whoever is seeking information, the information they deserve. So that my role as not only a legislator, but as an advocate, as a mom, as a Black woman, as someone who is representing power in this city, we all need to know that we have to use our voices to empower others. And so that's how my approach to this work.
What are some of the issues that some of your top? Give us top three issues that you think that is cause for concern in your legislative district.
So unfortunately, or fortunately, it depends on how you look at it. We were elected at a time where the whole world is on fire, right?
Yep.
Everything is a priority. Nothing
Yep.
seems normal, and everything has to be reinvented or recreated. And so our job is to pivot. Our job is to identify what are the low-hanging fruit. And I think my work as a community advocate helps me better understand that my lane is education first. And so bridging that pipeline from these public schools to the workforce, that can be bridged. That's a low-hanging fruit because I'm very knowledgeable in those areas. And so to your question, I try to address economic value and educational standards in our community simply by making sure that those institutions are aware of what I'm trying to do legislatively, but I'm not only focused on the legislation part. I'm talking to community members because guess what? People are broken, people feel hopeless at times, and so there is a lot of skill buildings that we have to reintroduce to people, and there's a whole lot more of hope we have to instill in our people. People are transient. People, new faces are coming into our communities. Businesses are closing down. There's a lot of small businesses in the 185th, and they're not here anymore. And then coupled with the blight that already exists, and all these businesses though that are not doing the right thing. So our whole house is burning down. However, my approach is having conversations like this along with other electeds, along with other community groups to figure out a way how we can strategize to not only rebuild in our community, but instilling hope through the educational curriculum, through the workforce development. And that's not only preparing to work for somebody or going to college or even going to a trade. It also encompasses entrepreneurship. So we have to think differently, and we're learning together. And so it's workforce development, and then it's also education. And the last piece in the 185, you already know that we have a high immigration population. So there's a cultural shift, right?
Yep.
So all hands on deck. And if you follow me on any of my social media platforms, you will see join the conversation. Information is power, because don't look for a 6-person team, administration team, to really fully impact 65,000 people by ourselves. We need the help of the community members to help inform us so we can legislate and then be empowered as a district.
I definitely agree. I think, that I would hope that you would fight for some resources and funding to fund the community schools program that you ran for years out in Southwest. And I think that, you should go to the Biden administration and ask them to put a couple $1 million in there, because that program, you did all kinds of programs for kids, and the families would come and get resources, and you would just do all kinds of things. So I really do think that that's a niche for you.
I will,
So
let me just let you know that's already been touched. I already reached out to the Biden administration. We've already been in conversation.
Good.
So that's on my radar. But to your point earlier, you know, I'm a strategist. I don't always give out my chips, but since you put it out there, Biden and
Preach.
I are already on the same team.
Hey, listen. This is of the Black Wealth Tour. People, information is wealth. You can't get wealth without information. That's what we did. We disseminated information. We are the people that get the information that up, and we know how to get it to the community. That's your strength. We got out the houses, and now we had this medium. And I was just talking to Darisha earlier today, and I'm just so happy you have a lot of amazing ideas. What role should our elected officials play in educating people about how to protect their generational wealth?
Well, we're going to start off by saying thank you to you and your dynamic team. Just the fact that we're on a panel of all women, it just speaks volume to what's going to happen tonight. But I'm gonna drop this gem. You know, Regina is smiling because you know I'm gonna drop this gem. The greatness of a man is not in how much wealth he acquires, but in his integrity and his ability to affect those around him positively. And that was by Bob Marley. And I just think that when we're talking, for me, I'm not looking at myself as an elected official. Why? That's a person that's looking at a paycheck. I'm a politician because I'm a coalition builder. I'm looking at policy. I'm about implementing change, and I'm about doing things differently. I mean, that's just really how I look at it. And what needs to happen when we're talking about generational wealth, that means as African Americans, we need to have a financial conversation when a child is in the womb from 0 to 5. That means we need to do and adopt the model that every community but ours do. That means what happened is too late when you're talking at a funeral, at a table, when the person is deceased, to start talking about the wills and the estate and the planning. By then it's too late because tables about to be flipped, chairs is about to be tossed, things is got to be break because our houses wasn't in order. So we got to have unpacked conversations and be realistic when we're having a dollars and cents conversation.
Yeah.
And what happens in our community is we don't like. So what's happening right now for us, and Regina will tell you, Rep Young, COVID made people extremely more forthcoming with their business. So you have a person who tested positive. Now everybody knows this person's tested positive. You got a person who has a little sniffle. Now you look at them a little crazy. We're not used to all this being upfront, how we feel, what's our health like. That's the same conversation when it talks about our wealth. When I haven't dated anybody that, before I was married and said, what's your credit score? Can you get a this? Can you get a that? Those is real conversations, but that's how you really got to unpack it. I mean, it shouldn't be when you about to get this house and nobody can sign their name on the line because their credit's jacked up. Y'all got to have those conversations in your premarital counseling when you're really, really unpacking it. And that's the conversations. One of the best conversations that we're having now is the fact that we're at the Register of Wills, which is the state office and the state. Because there's packages that we could put together in our state offices that really has the conversations about wills and the state and life planning and who is your executive of their estate. What is a living will? What is all of these type of things? We can present it when we're having a conversation. And one of the things that I'm glad I partner with, I'm glad I've had great conversation with the Quaker State Funeral Directors Organization. You saying Darisha Parker?
I met with them. We met with them.
Just say why. They are real. And the best thing when you have conversations with individuals, you got to understand, I need to talk to these people on the front end. So we can start doing the financial planning on the front end and not a back end. That's from the womb to the tomb. Before anybody gets in these kind of financial fist fights, we can really unpack it together. And I get
you're right about that. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just get where people are going right now. That this is a private matter, and we're on a public platform, and we're talking about wealth. We're talking about finances. But let the three of us on this top row tell y'all right now, our finances aren't private. Our finances is public. So anytime Darisha buys a burger, Darisha goes to the store, Darisha gets gas in her car, that's her personal car. That's a right to know act by the government. So these are the type of times that individuals need to understand and need to unpack it a little better when we're talking about our finances. And it's really being honest. And it's just, you just got to be honest. So, we're not wearing our badge of honor. We're just giving it to you real and how we see it as being a politician.
like this is really in real time. Within the next 25 years, $68 trillion of wealth is getting ready to transfer out of I'm the youngest, so we're dying off.
Right.
Are the millennials, are they ready for this? They are not ready for this. And we are not ready for this. We are not leaving wills. And as a result of that, is leaving families in a lot of unnecessary disputes or abandonment.
Because of the houses.
Some families just say, well, listen, I give up on it.
And when we're talking about generational wealth, we don't do these programs to try to teach you to be a millionaire. You're going to have to find out another place to be a millionaire. We trying to get you to get and keep the things you need to live a decent life in the world, and also to accumulate enough so that you can pass it on to the next generation, so that every generation don't have to work so hard to get the house, to get the car, to get the things you need, not to be Bill Gates, the things you need to live a decent life. And remember, generational wealth, just like the quote that the representative read, it's not just about money. Generational wealth is about how you teach each other to keep and preserve your humanity from one generation to the next. That sometimes we talk about how, particular photos may have some, whatever, some type of emotional concern for you. So it really is what you value. We're not just talking about dollars and cents. We're talking about establishing a level of livelihood where money is a concern, but it's not the everyday concern. Now, when the register is talking about these tangled titles, people are dying without wills. And when they die, what ends up happening is that a house is now owned by a dead person. A house is owned by a dead person. You can't buy it. You can't rent it. You can't, not with a license. You can't get it repaired on any of the programs that the representatives here can tell you about. And we also found that there's a connection between those abandoned houses and the deteriorating neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So, when those houses get to be 1 and 2 and 3 on the block, we know other things happen, and those things aren't good. And eventually, those neighborhoods become targets for gentrification because there's less people in the neighborhood than there are houses. And then we complain, oh, they gentrifying our neighborhood. By the time they gentrifying it, it ain't even our neighborhood anymore. Are we still there? Just some empty houses, So that's one of the problems that we see. And that's one of the things I know that the register is interested in alleviating. That's where we meet. And that's why we're here today.
Awesome.
And so, Darisha, this next question is for you. I wanted you to discuss some of the current pending legislation. What are some of the initiatives and legislation that you're looking into, Darisha?
Well, it's not a coincidence that we're in here today, and as my father is on my other side of me about his photo. But when you talked about the housing market, there is a bill that I'm going to be co-sponsoring. One of the things that I found is extremely disturbing that if a developer wants to develop a project or a housing project in the neighborhood, I think it's very just disrespectful that you just start knocking on people's doors and asking them to sell their house for pennies on the dollar.
Oh,
and now nobody asking you to just be knocking and putting flyers and just being really aggressive about an individual, moving from their home. I just think that's just downright just disrespectful, and I'm not going to have it. So if you start that nonsense, and it's a couple of them that's been doing it in 198th, and we're going to make sure that they know that we're not going to have that. Another one of my legislations that I'm really passionate about is human trafficking. We're going to do some deep dive in human trafficking. I've already had some co-sponsorship on my gun safety bill, safe drinking water, labor. I'm going to do some deep dive in these COVID bills, fair funding, education, straw purchase, and environment. I'm a very loud advocate as it relates to health, environment, and wellness. It's no coincidence that the zip code of 19140 has the highest level of asthma among African American children. And that means it wasn't a coincidence that the zip code of 19140 of Nicetown also had the highest level of COVID. So when you have that means I don't want big businesses thinking they can come into the Black and brown community without presenting their information to the community saying that they're going to bring toxic fumes. We can't have that. So we got to make sure that everybody is educated and knowledgeable about the environment and what what comes into our body and what goes out. That's not safe. And as we're also doing our deep dive matter register, we got to really unpack. This is one of Regina's passion. It's about this education in our fair funding formula.
Gosh.
How the school model is happening in the suburbs, and it's an afterthought in our Philadelphia public schools. We cannot have it. We can't be talking at each other. We got to work towards solutions, because what Rep Young and I basically are on our watch. We can't allow our children to go another year in an environment that they're being further behind and not educated. So you're going to have individuals making sure that the reading, the writing, the arithmetic, the home ec, and the shop, all of the fundamental skills that I received to be an educator and a legislator today, our children deserve it. Matter of fact, they're supposed to have it. And we need to do a deep dive and look into the curriculum. I was looking at the curriculum and I was confused. There's a curriculum for online learning and there's a regular curriculum. What's the curriculum? So, we got to really have these real discussions. And those are the things, to me, I'm passionate about. You heard me talk about labor. That means I'm talking about the union and the building trades and unpacking that, making sure more African Americans, especially women, are involved in that. So we're going to do some deep dives and have some real conversation. And just because you don't see Rep Parker's name as the lead, I'm going to be a sponsor. So let's do the math. There's 90 in the minority. There's 113 in the majority. It's been that way for 10 years. So be patient, ladies and gentlemen. You'll see our names. Our bills will eventually get passed, but it's a process. Harrisburg is not city council. I just got to let everybody know.
Say that again. Say it again.
Harrisburg is not city council. It's definitely a longer process to get your bills, to get it passed. I mean, there's so many committees and so many additions and addendums and different things and woo-woo-wow, even it be from us today. But I can honestly say, with the leadership that we have and the fact that we're working together, we're making sure that conversations become realities. And we don't, what I don't do, I don't BS, I don't fluff. Just because I was a staffer before I was a politician, it's still my job to give individuals an answer. And if I don't know, I will make sure I get the answer. And one thing about our state offices that we should know, do other people know in the treasurer's office, there is unclaimed property. So that means individuals got money sitting there.
They don't know.
So
I check them out every year. I didn't get any.
So you don't have to worry about it. Representative Parker's already reached out to their
No, but I checked.
Zoom. So we're going to do that. We're going to show our constituents.
You know how much is in there? It's a lot of money. And let me tell you,
a ridiculous amount of money.
Guess what? And I'm glad you brought that up, Jerry. Guess what? When you die without a will and no one can find any of your heirs, where do you think the money goes? Sharon, tell them where that money goes. All that trillions of dollars sitting there. Tell them where that money goes.
Then we have to notify the Commonwealth, which is the state of Pennsylvania, that, hey, we got money and no heirs. And they say, thank you. We'll take that. And they take the information in case an heir shows up. But they have money that they have had for years and years and years. And it's just sitting there because you didn't write a will. And there's no way of finding out, who your heirs are.
Well, I just said this and I'll put it out there. And I mean, I always said to Darisha and Regina, can we ask them for a couple of those dollars to use for the poor or some initiatives in Philly? Because if that money is sitting there, I guess it should be building interest, right? Because it's sitting there. Like, who benefits from that? Let's think about it. Because we send 80 to 100 million to the state. So even though people want to categorize Philly as, oh, y'all poor and we sending 80 to 100 million dollars per year to the state and the state taxes. What does that tell you about our welfare? That's why we're trying to get you that row house that nobody cared about 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Did you hear the bill that Darisha says she's trying to pass? The harassment bill that you're going to get phone calls. I get postcards, phone calls every day. They're trying to buy our houses. It's a lot of wealth here. And we just want you all to understand that our offices, the state offices, can help you. Regina, you wanted to add to some of the things
Just chime in a little bit. Rep Parker, she does such a great job explaining all of that. But I just wanted to say a couple of things on that. One, it's already illegal to solicit these houses and put things on these boards.
It is.
And all those
Yes,
things.
it is.
It's already illegal.
In Philly, it is. On the city level.
It's enforcement.
The
issue is enforcement. So that's number one. Number two, there is trillions of dollars sitting in an account in Harrisburg. However, this is the community part of me, and I'm going to push back and say, well, this is our fault. This is the people's fault, because we're giving them money because either one, we're not actively seeking out the information that is being given, or people like us who are in the room have to actively engage on ways to educate the folks. But it's our fault if we are living now, especially with family members, or we know family members, there's nothing wrong with having a conversation with your grandmom or your mom or your auntie or your cousin and just have those conversations. As a community, we typically shy away from those type of conversations because it's oftentimes uncomfortable. But the truth of the matter is, ladies, we can't afford to be uncomfortable anymore. So we got to have those conversations, and we have to perform. We have to have a platform to make sure that these people are getting met with the information that they need now, in terms of seeing how much money you have. Because everybody chats. I know once we become 100% open again, it is pretty difficult now. But when they're coming in asking questions, if you got 5 extra minutes, why don't you log in on this computer and see if you have money? Access. It's all about access. And if we're not communicating that and educating,
they can go on your link, right? There is a link on your site that they can hit the link, correct?
Correct. It's correct. And it's so easy. It's because we all did it, right? Looking for our own money.
Yeah, I'll do it tonight. Maybe some money is in there.
Right. It's so simple. It takes literally 5 minutes. So when people are coming into our offices talking, just say, if you got 5 extra minutes to see if you got $500 extra, they will do that. It's, you know how we gotta.
Sometimes it's more than that.
In this space.
I've heard people getting more than that from that site.
But in our population or in our district, 500 is like $1 million to some. So however we can get them to sit down for 5 minutes to at least check. The goal is to empower them with the information. You said this platform is about empowerment and access. Well, this is where it starts. Everybody's not going to always go. We give them a website, like I just gave them pa.gov. They're not going to always do that. Sometimes they need people like us to tell them, here's what you need to do. And that's fine. So we just got to be, put our running shoes on to be creative.
Representative, do you think that the state could use some of that unclaimed property to actually advertise so that people would know to go to that website?
Yeah, they do advertise it on the web.
They do advertise it.
A real advertise. Like I haven't seen it advertised on social media. Everybody's on social media.
Because who wants to tell people that I want to give you your money back? Like, let's not play games here. Who wants to tell people I'm gonna give you your money back? That's number one. And number two, I don't know. Rep Parker can have a different experience, but in the 1 month and 3 weeks that I've been there, the Commonwealth is bigger than Philly. So our perspective is bigger than Philly. Our colleagues, the 11290, where that Rep Parker keeps talking about, 11390, trust and believe it's real. Meaning there's 113 Republicans, 90 Democrats. So when you're talking about legislation and bills, Rep Parker is talking about co-sponsoring and doing these bills. Let's be real. The chances of her bills being passed, or even mine, are extremely low. So we have to have these creative spaces to say, even if it's not through legislation, how else can we get this stuff done?
Here's how we can do it. Here's how we can do it. We are teaming up, and we are going to go out on an education marathon.
All right.
Teaching people, one, how to protect their generational wealth. Step one, all your constituents need to answer this question. Do you have a will? We want to make sure that is a comfortable conversation. Do you have a will? Okay, well, listen, here's some information over here that I got from the Register of Wills to tell you why it's important. Okay, do you live in a house that's a tangled title? What is it? Well, my grandmother owned the house. She is still in her name. Okay, it's not your house. It's not air property.
Mm.
We can teach them how to, because let me tell you, it's nothing like living in a home that your family owns as opposed to renting. It is a big difference. How much more wealth do a person that owns sharing? How many? 80%. You are 80% more wealthier than the person that rents. A person that owns a home is 80% richer than a person that rents.
But
We have to.
we gotta unpack it, Madam Register, and Regina Young knows where I'm saying. When I say unpacking is when I'm talking about the constituents of the 198th district, whether you're a homeowner, whether you live in an apartment or whatever, you're a resident of the 198th district. It's the three of our jobs to give you the breakdown of what that actually means. So what that means is that we have institutionalized racism that has been existing in our community for so many daggone years that individuals that look like you and I are automatically denied a home loan because of the color of their skin, the content of their character, and what is absolutely in their bank account. So
but then Biden, are we going to hold Biden accountable to
I'm
make
holding
sure
everybody accountable because what happens is I want individuals to know that we can always have that conversation or that sweet thing about that American pie, but if we can't show them the road to access the wealth that we're talking about, then we just talking heads. It's our job to educate individuals about finances, about credit, about what it means when you have to take out another mortgage on your home because you're actually going to purchase another property somewhere else. That's the other type of wealth. What's the other thing? Like you use your real estate to purchase other real estate, but we got to unpack it to have the real conversation about our finances first before we even talk about other things.
A lot of us are not talking about.
There you go. And break that down, Madam Register, of the will and the living will. I think you need to share. There's a difference.
Is a big difference between a will and a living will, and the best person on this panel right now that can tell you the difference is Attorney Sharon Wilson.
Go ahead, go ahead, Attorney.
And a living will. Living will. You're making decisions about what you want to happen to you when you can't speak for yourself. Do you want to be intubated? Do you want to be fed? Do you want to be, DNR? Do you want to get that shock to bring you back to life? There's a whole list of things. And in Pennsylvania, they actually allow you to pick from a list of things that you want done and who do you want to make that decision for you when you can't speak. The other will is a testamentary will. That's the will that we're all used to, that you list all of your assets and you talk about who's going to go get them and who's going to take care of everything in your estate and who's going to help distribute all of those things.
Can I add something to that? In this conversation of things that I didn't necessarily hear, but I think it's important, those of us with children, make sure that they're part of those conversations, because as you're talking about generational education, they can't learn if they're not educated.
Financial literacy
is where it's at.
It should be a conversation as morbid. Like, you don't want to be at the table, I guess if something happened to me, but sometimes you do might want to be able to say, hey kids, just in case, or your grown kids say, hey, to the most responsible of your kids, hey, just in case something happened to mommy or daddy or something like that, go in that lockbox in my, up in my closet, the one that you always wonder what was in it. And, that, and then that kid who's like, something happened to you before, and they was like, oh, I'm sad. I don't know. They can say, okay. Right. They don't have to go to the funeral director and say, what do I do? They don't have to call Darisha, say, Representative Darisha, my mother died. I don't know. They can just go to the lockbox that you told them to go to, or call the attorney that has all your information. And then the attorney gives them all the information. They come to the Registrar of Wills office and they are out an hour. A certificate with a seal that say, here to the bank, I can take everything out of here. Here's to the stocks and binds. I can do, here's to the house. And then I can go over to the record of deeds and say, this is my stuff. Put my name on it. This is not what's happening in the city of Philadelphia. We are not minding our business. We are not making sure that we make wills, and we are not making sure that our kids through an education process you can pass legislation saying that every high school student that graduate has to get education on financial literacy. Y'all can pass that legislation, and I don't even see why somebody on the Republican side or the Democratic side will say, why can't we join in this and agree on this curriculum?
Some of that stuff can't be explained, unfortunately. These political lines, some of that stuff just can't be explained because we don't know.
No, you know why? You know what? It's a human issue. It's not.
It should be a human issue. It should be a human issue. But this is why collaborative conversations are so important, because what one group, such as legislators, might see as a barrier, because we not only have to deal with our Democratic colleagues, but also our Republican colleagues. And guess what? There's a lot of personalities, because the Commonwealth is vast. Not everybody have these issues, so their concerns are not ours. You know, they're not the same. So there's a lot of conversations that have to happen. But I will say, to your point, how do we do it? By having conversations like this. You know, I've always had my kids, and how amazing was it just the other day? My 15-year-old is like, okay, well, Mom, how do we go ahead and how do I start planning to buy a house? He only worked at Bartram's Garden, and this dude has a bank account. He probably, well, before this job, he had more money than me. But I'm just saying, you know how proud I am as a mom, because we do this work, not for the glory, but because it's necessary.
And based on what we're talking about this evening, one of the things that happens with offices like the Register of Wills in our office, one of the things, people come into our office and we're problem solvers, okay? We solve your problems. So what we can't do is give you legal advice, and we cannot recommend attorneys. What we do in our capacity, when there's legalities, we also advise you to community legal services. And everybody gets upset, Rep Parker, because it's a whole lot of laws and a whole lot of liabilities that right now Rep Parker can't be responsible for. So that's why you'll see sometimes on Zoom calls, the trial lawyers, or you'll see sometimes the barristers, hopefully, and, you know, different other groups in partnerships. And when we're trying to do key legislation and key things that we're trying to do, we're actually going to do. And then a lot of the things that Rep Young said, let me tell y'all what's happening. When you're in the minority, and you know who's in the majority, and I said they've been in the majority, that means it's not going to be a hashtag, it's not going to be a press release moment when the way some of these Republicans move. So we're going to be doing some things in silos, and then guess what? They may get credit for the bill that Rep Young or myself introduced, but it got passed. So these are the worlds that we're into. We're not here for the credit, we're here for the work. So if you're thinking that you're going to always see a hashtag or you're going to see a photo op or a press, that's not who I am. I'm about this work. I'm about the community, and I don't BS and we don't fluff. We give solutions, and we point you in directions of reliable sources that people can depend on. And that's really what it's about. When Register Gordon talked about our older adult population, that's why God blessed me by being on the older and aging adult committee. Because you got to be on these committees so I can do a deep dive. I'm also on consumer affairs, I'm also on commerce, and I'm on agriculture and rural affairs, and I'm the chair of the subcommittee of Black women and girls. What does that mean when I gave you all these things? If you really can unpack it the way I unpack it, that says I'm on committees for Black folks. Ooh. If I'm on a committee for Black folks and I'm Black, then I'm bringing solutions to the district that elected me. And I can end right there.
Okay. She dropping the mic, Representative Young.
It's true.
She's pretty cool. She's pretty cool. Let me tell you, I know we're out of time, but I have to say this. So, you know, we're incoming, and it's only a handful of us. But what we hear in the few minutes that we've been in Harrisburg, we're a powerhouse group. Our new class, powerhouse group. Because here's the deal, far too often we watch people go along to get along, and our communities still look like this. Change have to happen.
Preach.
So yeah,
Listen,
we're a powerhouse group.
Listen, Darisha, I just wanted to say this. I do not want to fluff over this. The sex trafficking of our babies, our girls.
Yes.
Talk about what you with this legislation. I can't. We
It's
cannot
really going to
finish
be
this.
it's going to be a deep dive, and the reason why it's going to be a deep dive, and I can't do the legalities and the research of it, of how deep it is. But when I tell you, Madam Register, you'll actually be proud of the legislation that I'm taking out. Actually, I started working on this legislation in December,
Okay.
because they really still, it's so much research that they have to do on what I'm going after. I'm going after businesses, so I'm going hard. Okay, this is like a
Oh,
multi-billion. I mean, this is a $1 billion industry. That when this gets passed, it's been passed and introduced in a lot of states. So we gotta see what the temperature is of a lot of states. So you gotta get the legalities of that. So I am super anxious, but I'm patient, because one of the things I can't allow, and why it's really near and dear to my heart, when I think of our district, and the fact that when you're talking about human trafficking, the mere fact that I have to have a conversation about something being
it's
trafficked
crazy.
it's just
In
absurd.
2020, that's slavery,
It is.
brutal slavery. That
It,
that
it,
is
it, it definitely, but the reason why I'm going hard is the fact that when you think of the 198th district, and I think of how I drive down Shelton Avenue, you cut over to Wissahickon and you hit on City Avenue. Either way, those are some quick ways. You can either go down if you take 76, and you can hit on a 95, you can go down south, or you go north. Our 95 corridor
yeah,
are
yeah.
threads for people to go anywhere, and it can happen extremely fast.
Mhm.
And we have to be really intentional about how serious this is. So I'm glad that you brought that up. I was
I have
very
to.
careful on how I unpacked it, because there's still some legalities that we got to work on. But once it gets passed, and I'm going to do what we have to do, you guys are going to be very proud of me.
I didn't want to gloss over that. It is really serious. That's why, and our women are part of our generational wealth.
Yes.
Black women are the soul of our community. And when I seen that you was looking, and State Rep Young was passing some strong legislation on that, it is a reality. I read about it all the time. Girls and young women are being abducted
Yes,
and abused and assaulted and raped and whatever. And I never thought they said like this affiliate is a hub.
it is a hub.
Atlanta is a hub.
Mhm. And you
It's
don't
a
think
hub.
about it. Like one of the stings that they did was right at that motor lodge, right on Shelton City Avenue.
Yes. I just wanted to segue in as we close.
Oh
Um,
no, we gotta close.
but we still got a little bit more time
Okay,
because
okay,
we
okay,
can
okay.
edit all this. This is going to be recorded. We are on all social media sites. Hashtag PHLROW, Philly Register of Wills. And you can go on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and you can go on all the social media sites, and you'll be able to see this next week. You'll be able to go on all our back webinars that go step by step, or what type of will you need, how to do a will, how to probate, how to get your short certificate, whether or not it's legal for the banks to withhold less than $10,000 if you come get money if somebody dies. We go step by step every Thursday at 6 o'clock through 7 o'clock. Go on their websites. Make your children go on their website and put the email in. They daily, both of these state reps give you daily information on the bills that they are trying to introduce, about all the sort resources that they need. You have to go online to do that. I just want to thank everybody. I want State Representative Regina Young to give us some closing information. You can just any other lasting thoughts before we close tonight.
Well, I will just say once again, a wonderful evening. Thank you so much again for this platform, for your insight, and for putting together such an amazing team to be creative in this space and create a sense of hopefulness, right?
Mhm.
And education and access and exposure. Those are my three buckets right there: access, education, and exposure. So I appreciate you and your leadership in this conversation. I would say, just as a race of people, depending on where you're from, I will say that just remember that we are the descendants of those who chose to survive. And they crossed the transatlantic, they survived slavery, they survived segregation, and we're here. So we are here on purpose, and we're here to do some great things for the generation to come. So, together we can do some amazing things. So always keep the conversation going. So
I
again,
cannot believe that Regina Young and Tracey Gordon, like we had nobody representing Southwest Philadelphia, South of Market. I mean Southwest. It was no elected official, and now it's both me and her who we would sit there eating the pretzels, and we had little huggies, and we would just be sitting in the meeting after meeting after meeting, and now we have the blessings and opportunity to actually do what we wanted to demand from other people in these positions. And I'm just so proud of you. I'm really proud of you. I guess breaking news, tell them about what you did for your legislative district as it relates to COVID-19.
Girl, when I tell you, Regina knows I've been struggling with this. So we were on a great Zoom call today, and I found 4 Rite Aids in the 198th district that has the vaccine. So I am going crazy right now. Four. So
you found 4 Rite Aids.
Yes.
Tell them about this initiative that you got for your constituent as it relates to the COVID vaccine that everybody needs to get.
So what we're doing, I put that information on the website. Okay, I made it so easy. So when you call the office, whatever your age is, we're gonna fill out the information. We currently have a waiting list of individuals who want the vaccine. So we're literally gonna be calling them one by one and actually scheduling appointments for them. So now it's a one-stop shop at Rep. Parker's office. We're not going to let you say that you don't know where to go. We're going to show you where to go. And also in not too far out of our district, but in the Temple area, tomorrow and Saturday, they're doing 24-hour vaccination. I know they probably already started line up at Temple University. Go ahead, Black COVID doctors. 24-hour vaccination by the Black COVID doctors that has been working tirelessly in our community, making sure that the Black and Brown have access to what is provided by them.
Is it first come, first serve, or are you?
Yeah, people been lining up. Absolutely.
They said no appointment is necessary. You can just
don't. If y'all see me in my cap in the cut, because let me tell you something, listening audience. This is another thing. Get those shots. I mean, I'm not being a doctor or nothing. I'm just saying to me, if I'm advising my family we have to go back to some sense of normalcy. And, I know you want to do your research and everything, but don't go by everything on social media. Call your doctor, whatever medical card that you have, turn around on the back, call and ask questions. They answer the phones now. People are working from their houses. Sharon, any closing remarks from you all? This was
this was really, really good. It is so, like you said, uplifting to just be on a panel with people that look like you, who have that you can be happy and excited about. So thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. I can tell from the chat box that they really appreciated it. So again, really appreciate. This was fantastic.
Thank you all. Thank you for bringing that information about
and guess what happens? And know what happens tonight?
What?
And it's all on recorded. Just because we in different zip codes, we get along. So let the narrative show the fact that you got women on here
across the
different zip codes, and we get along. We love each other. We agree to disagree privately, but publicly we are a
unified front.
Uniform front. And that's what we need to let everybody know as women. We are a strong force and we work well together. Yes, there's been some lonely nights as Regina Young and myself, but guess what? We serve a mighty God and we pray and we lead by faith.
Yes.
Okay? And guess what? There was some that was last and those were first, and first it was the last, but there's only few that was chosen to lead. I'm just going to leave it there.
See, your dad will be proud of you. We want to save homes, register wills. I'm Tracey Gordon. Thank you to my distinguished guests, State Representative Regina Young, State Representative Darisha Parker, and good night, everybody.